Hello, everyone. My name is Catherine Castrejon, and I want to talk about my infographic, which is about trans violence. So, to give a brief summary of what trans violence is, it is when transgender individuals experience a shocking amount of violence and discrimination, and they are also the group of people who experience higher rates of domestic and social and sexual violence, as well as being targets of transphobic hate crimes and violence. So I wanted to compare the differences between um, violent crimes with trans women and cisgendered women. So I found that 1 in 4 trans women who were victimized thought that the incident was a hate crime, compared to 1 in 10 cisgendered women. What I also found in partner violence was that more than 50% of trans women have experienced some form of intimate partner violence, including acts involving coercive control and physical harm. I also wanted to look at trans deaths within the globe. What I found more interesting was that Brazil remains the top country with the most murders against trans people, followed by Mexico and the United States. So being a trans person, it is very unsafe to live in a country like Brazil. It is actually the most dangerous country to live in as a trans person, seeing that Brazil contributes to 33% of trans deaths in 2021. I also wanted to look at the trans deaths throughout the past 5-6 years, starting in 2016. So in 2016, I found that the amount of deaths in trans people were 200 or 325 deaths. In 2017, it went up to 358. It dropped a little bit in 2018 to 348, and in 2019, 322. We see a spike increase in 2020 with 376, and in 2021, 282. And from what we can see, 2021 is actually set to be the deadliest year for trans people. And what you can see is 96 of those killed globally were trans women. 89% of those killed in the USA were people of color. And, the USA being having a very systemic racism and transphobia, 66% of those deaths were actually Black trans women. So it just shows how not only being a person of color affects how you'll be discriminated against, but even by being a trans woman, combining those two together result in violence. And from what we can see here, also over the past 13 years, there have been a record of 4,039 killings. Although we have that record of 4,039 killings towards trans people, we can also it's kind of a sad fact that it's not very accurate with that number, just because there can also be a possibility that there might be missing people who have not yet to be found and were not counted for these killings. So it just makes you think how much or how many trans people have not yet to be found or and have not been recorded to being one of those trans people who have been killed due to transphobia. I also wanted to include Trans Remembrance Day, which lands on November 20th. It has been globally recognized as a day to honor the memory of those who have been murdered as a result of transphobia. I also wanted to include this image presented by the Gay Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation. So in this image, it says, "I remember. Today we honor those who've lost their lives to anti-transgender violence and discrimination." I also wanted to include this image of protesters who hold candles during a vigil against the campus, inside the campus of the State University in Manila, to coincide with the burial of murdered transgender woman, Jennifer Lod. So it just shows how, you know, as this generation grows, we see that more people are being accepting of trans lives, especially towards Jennifer Lod, where these group of students really want to commemorate her death, showing or spelling out the word justice with an LGBTQ plus flag to show the world how much we care for trans women and how it's not okay for violence to be targeted towards trans people, and just comes to show that we're slowly like trying to stop these killings and, you know, honor those who have been killed in the past. Okay. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you.